Hello, and welcome back to The Myth Within. I'm Dr. Tom, and I'm very grateful to have you here today. Happy May the 4th. Or as the popular saying now goes, May the 4th be with you. Today we're going to start with a quote from Joseph Campbell, a mythologist that had an extreme influence on the original trilogy of Star Wars. In fact, he had a great documentary filmed in the last years of his life at Skywalker Ranch, really paying tribute, George Lucas paying tribute to the man. That story really underlied the mythic nature of the development of this franchise that really does explore a new mythology emerging, a star mythology. Joseph Campbell writes, "Myths are public dreams, and dreams are private myths. We must be willing to get rid of the life we planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us." When we look at the idea of private myth making, Joseph Campbell really begins to prime our psyche for this. When he says myths are public dreams, really what he's talking about is a consensus. He's talking about the idea that there's symbolic material that's emerging from the psyche, the collective psyche, that really leads us to begin questioning, not only questioning, but also structuring the dynamics of our psyche in a way that allows us to make sense of the environmental stimuli that goes on. When we look at the foundation of myth, we really begin to look at a means by which we make sense of the psyche's journey unfolding. This leads us to really question aspects of our personal ontology, which is a branch of metaphysics that really invites us to look into the nature of being. Such ontological questions that are common amongst individuals are things like, who am I? What's the nature of my essence? Is the world a safe place or not? Is it dangerous? Do I live in a world of plenty or a world of scarcity? Are people trustworthy? Now, this has major implications as it relates to the influence that media and social media has on the individual psyche, because feedback's given now almost instantaneously, where in the past we have had some time in between events that have occurred and the processing needed to make sense of a question such as, are people trustworthy or not? And media can influence that kind of question very drastically in an instantaneous fashion. However, if you see something on the news per se that looks disturbing, but then you go outside and you look at where you are, maybe that forms a different opinion present as it relates to that simple question, are people trustworthy or not? The other day I saw a young individual helping a person across the street. I thought, wow, this is something that's absolutely amazing. Then I began to wonder how much of this really is happening, but just goes unnoticed by the things that we gear our minds towards, such as media and social media. Other question that really hits me as an ontological question is, am I deserving? Am I a worthy human being? Or am I not worth having the life and the beauty of love that life affords me? Now, when we look at these type of questions, we begin to conceptualize ourselves in a mythic framework. We could develop the hero or the heroine of the story. We could develop the prince or the princess of the story. And these underlying symbols, these archetypes, really pull at us to engage in a conceptual framework for life unfolding that hopefully could lead us to a realized state of development, one that we simply are content with the unfolding of life as it has happened, but we're willing to engage those mythic aspects of our dreams moving forward. With the prince and the princess, one thing that strikes out to me coming from a traditional media source now, term that Disney has really coined recently was this idea behind dream big, princess. What does this mean? What's it mean to dream big? When they call out the princess, are they touching upon the princess of old Disney, things like Snow White or Cinderella, the person complacent that life happens to? Or are they calling upon a mythic warrior princess, of which they're beginning to show more animated films as it relates to women being in a more proactive role? Now, when they begin to look into things like this and they coin catchphrases like Dream Big Princess, which I love as a catchphrase, we have to begin to define this, how this is going to help girls individuate into this woman that they want to be. It's the same with boys and men. If they are taught to dream big, what does that mean? Does that mean being the hero of the quest? Can we all be heroes of a quest? Can we all be the hero or the heroine of our own story? What happens when we touch upon mythic foundations like Dream Big Princess, or touching upon the inner warrior? What happens is we begin to engage that energy within to move us into personal action. And this is where Joseph Campbell touches upon this when he says dreams are private myths. We all touch upon these symbols as we begin to make sense of life. Can I be the inner hero? Can I be the wise man? Can I be the wise woman? Can I be the inner heroine to dictate my life moving forward? The king, the queen, the sage, the wizard, the witch. All these things touch upon us in the symbols that dreams afford us. And these symbols operate as archetypes, both within the myth as well as within the dream. And when we look at the archetypes, there's opposite poles present within each symbol. A king could be a tyrant, so can a queen. A king could be a just and loving person, so can a queen. What symbol are we dealing with? What polarity is coming out of the symbol itself? These symbols, even though they could be collective, such as the king or queen of a country, the leader of a country, what happens is we could deal with both sides of the same equation through the exact same symbol. And so when we look at the symbol, this is made to transform us through dynamic movement. They're supposed to give insight into the nature of the problem that we're looking to solve. What happens as we work the symbolic content, there's not a either or perspective from a physical sense, from a physics sense. It always has to go into both and. A mother is both capable of nurturing, but a mother can also be very devouring by nature, such as the symbol of the Baba Yaga from Russian folklore. What happens when we begin to prep the psyche for the movement needed to reach a realized state of self-exploration, we begin to create the means by which we're engaging our life in a proactive movement, defining what is our private myth that we want to operate by. This leads us ultimately to a sense of finality. Death is an archetype, but so is birth. And it's said that we'll die many times during our life as new things are reborn to create the meaning of the being we are. What happens? Well, what story do you want to leave behind? Until next time, I thank you for joining me, and may you advance confidently in the direction of your dreams. Thank you.